All right. Hi, everybody. Meteorologist David Paul with you. We're in the KHOU 11 Weather Center in Houston, Texas. This is your Wednesday evening Atlantic tropical update. We've got a wave out there, but that wave does not look like it's about to develop anytime soon. We're going to look at how wind shear is going to impact that one. Pamela's remnants are over Mexico, but they're moving into Texas. Significant flash flood threat, not only for Texas, but a big swath of the USA. We'll take a look at the big picture on how the rain from the remnants of Pamela will impact everybody from Texas, Oklahoma, all the way up to the Great Lakes, all the way up to Quebec. And as we look at the names that we've used so far, we've used 20 of them so far in the Atlantic season. We're to Victor. We've gotten through Victor. That's 20 named storms. Wanda's next on the list. At the moment, I do not see Wanda forming, at least not for the next 4 or 5 days. Where are we as far as the 2021 hurricane season? Normally, over the past 30-year average, we get 14 named storms in an entire season. So far this year, we've had 20. Normally, we get 7 hurricanes over an entire season. Remember, the season doesn't end until the end of November. And so far, we've had 7 total named hurricanes. Major hurricanes, usually over an entire season, we get 3 of them. So far, we have had 4 major hurricanes. So we're ahead in the number of storms, ahead in majors. We're right on target for number of hurricanes. However, again, we still have a chunk of the season left to go, the rest of October and into November. Although after October, things really begin to statistically settle down. And quite often, if we're going to get a storm in October, November, it is here, the western Atlantic off the East Coast, or in the Caribbean or in the Gulf of Mexico. A couple of reasons for this. The sea surface temperatures here remain warmer longer. They're already beginning to cool off in the eastern Atlantic. And quite often this time of the year, we begin to get cold fronts that come off the East Coast. And once they get out here, a cold front, so it's a surface front, it's a surface trough. It's a broad trough of low pressure. And sometimes on these surface troughs, you'll get areas of low pressure that close off, and they can feed on the warm waters of the Gulf, the Caribbean, or the western Atlantic. And in addition to that, we've got the Gulf Stream in here, and that's a warm ocean current that comes up the East Coast. So you've still got some warm water there. You've got the fronts coming in there. And so this is where we're most likely to see an October storm if one's going to form. And then usually they get ripped off to the north as these troughs are coming in and pulling them northward. So this time of year, we carefully watch the Caribbean and the Gulf for U.S. potential impacts. But at the moment, Caribbean Sea, Gulf of Mexico in particular, just as quiet as a mouse. Now, there is a scattered shower activity here in the central Caribbean, but that's all because of an upper level trough overhead here. So that's nothing that's tropical that's about to get going out there, just scattered thunder showers. There is a wave. In fact, this is now a tropical swirl. We've got a closed circulation here with our tropical wave north of the Bahamas, north of Hispaniola Island. But as you'll see, it's not a good looking system. It's the wind shear. And the rest of the open Atlantic, although we've got a large area of low pressure here near St. John's, Newfoundland, it's nothing tropical that's about to get going. Just a few scattered showers off the coast of Africa. Intertropical conversion zone out here is really beginning to settle down as sea surface temperatures begin to fall off. And then, of course, what came out of the Pacific yesterday made landfall early this morning in Mexico as a Cat 1 hurricane. Now it's a remnant low. Well, it's a depression. The remnant low will be moving into Texas, and that is already bringing a flash flood threat to the Lone Star State and will bring a flash flood threat across a big chunk of the country. So our tropical wave, with just a 10% chance for developing, is here, and there is a closed swirl. It's a tropical swirl, but there's absolutely zero convection or thunderstorm activity over the swirl. That has everything to do with the upper level winds. So although these are the surface winds, we've got a surface swirl. Tropical systems are surface-based systems, but there's absolutely no convection, no thunderstorm activity. You'd need to see some of these brighter reds and oranges over that low-level swirl to indicate development, and we are not getting that, and it is because of the upper-level winds. Nice looking trough sitting here near the Bahamas. This is up at 250 millibars, 34,000 feet or so. And there's the upper level wind pattern just racing across our tropical swirl, ripping the storms right off the top, decapitating the system as it tries to develop. That is a scenario under which you're likely not going to get anything developing. That's why it's only a 10% chance now, 2 days and 5 days out. Computer models, they've grabbed onto the idea of a closed swirl But again, that upper level wind pattern is not going to allow for any significant development. That's going into Thursday. And then watch how this gets pulled off to the northeast by those mid and upper level winds. It elongates, it gets caught up in a broad area of low pressure across the North Atlantic. Again, the Azores, wind, probably some unsettled weather going into Friday, Saturday, Sunday of this coming week, but no significant tropical system impacting you Azores. It's just going to be remnant moisture from that tropical swirl and a whole lot of wind shear. So that's the way it looks in the Atlantic right now. The Pacific is relatively quiet, but Pamela, who made landfall in Mexico earlier this morning, is still a tropical depression. There's the center of the depression. Max winds near 35 miles an hour, moving northeast at 28. So it's racing northeast at almost 30 miles an hour. Pressure's at 1,003. It's a decaying system. It's over land. It's lost its source of energy. And it is also being significantly sheared by the upper level winds, and that's what's pulling all that moisture up into Texas. And look at the lightning this evening on this Wednesday evening across central Texas. When you see lightning in a tropical atmosphere that we've got here now, so you've got deep moisture through the vertical column. Lightning indicates you're getting convection up and down through the entire vertical column, so that means you're raining out all available moisture. I look for lightning first when I see thunderstorms in a tropical atmosphere. If I see lightning like that, I know we're getting torrential tropical rains and there's a flash flood threat. And you can see what's pulling this right up across Texas right now. It's in between two pressure systems at the mid and upper levels. These are the wind flow at 250 millibars, again up toward 30,000 feet or so. You've got a big upper level low sitting here, so that's racing winds off to the north and east. And then look at this beautiful ridge of high pressure sitting over the Gulf of Mexico. That's why it's so quiet in the Gulf. Upper level high, dry air overhead. But the clockwise circulation around that high is also, funneling the moisture from Pamela right up across Texas and causing the flash flood threat there across central Texas tonight. How much additional rain? So we had flash flood warnings, multiple flash flood warnings in west central Texas earlier on Wednesday. You had 3 to 5 inches of rain out there, Del Rio to west of San Antonio, west of Austin. So additional rainfall tonight and tomorrow could be 3 to 5 inches more from San Antonio to Austin to Dallas, where the flash flooding threat tonight is greatest. Houston, East Texas, not so much. Maybe a half inch. Certainly not enough to cause any significant flash flood threat for East Texas, but Central Texas into North Central Texas, Dallas to the Red River, significant flash flood threat. And this is happening tonight, Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Big picture. So there's where the rain is tonight, but this is where it's headed. You can just follow this like a stream, like a river, right across the Ozarks into the mid-Mississippi, Ohio Valley, up into the Great Lakes, Chicago, Detroit, Toronto, up into Quebec and eastern Canada. And I mean, look at these rain total forecasts. So you're even up into Quebec. Look at the colors here. You're into that 1 to 3 inch range in a couple of spots. Certainly across the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. Closer view. So next stop will be the Ozarks for all this tropical moisture. So Fort Smith, Arkansas, and even eastern Oklahoma, Tulsa not far from you, heavy rain threat. This is going to be going into early tomorrow morning, tonight, early tomorrow morning through the day on Thursday. Springfield, Missouri, again, you're in that range of colors indicating perhaps 1.5 to 3 inches of rain falls, and this will be over the next 24, 36 hours. St. Louis, maybe 1 inch to 1.5 inches of rain. And then continuing further north, Cincinnati to Cleveland to Toronto, up into Quebec and eastern Canada. 1.5 to 3 inch totals right across the upper Midwest into the eastern Great Lakes states. Terre Haute, Indiana could see 1 to 3 inches of rain. This would most likely be Thursday night into Friday for you guys across the upper Midwest, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio Great Lakes. It's just amazing the reach these decaying tropical systems coming out of the Pacific Ocean can have thousands of miles away. So big picture, upper level flow Wednesday evening, and that flow, that moisture being pulled up, you can see how the river, the road, is right up to the northeast across the middle part of the country. That's pulling all the moisture with it. So let's watch how this is going to evolve. So we go into the weekend, and most of the USA gets a chance to dry out. This is a forecast for a rather pleasant weekend for most of the United States. We do have a trough here across the Great Lakes, same trough that's now pulling everything northeast, that trough propagates east. There will be a rain chance across the Great Lakes, the upper Midwest, in the base of that trough, but it's not too terribly heavy over the weekend, and it's not cold enough to have any frozen stuff here. That will be all liquid. You do see that swath of snow across central Canada. We're going to look at snow totals in a minute. That trough continues to evolve and head off to the east, going into Monday, Tuesday. New England, really up there toward Maine, Nova Scotia, Quebec, Nova Scotia, St. John's, Newfoundland, getting into that trough. That's unsettled weather going into Tuesday of next week. Meanwhile, what we've got going into early next week is a split jet, northern branch across Canada. That really locks up the really cold air north of that northern branch. Southern branch is active. That's usually a wet pattern for the southern U.S. But this is interesting. And if this, again, this is a forecast, but if this does verify, in between the two, the northern branch and the southern branch in the split jet regime, models are forecasting a cutoff upper level low. That would be a snowmaker, the second snowmaker of the season for the Rocky Mountain states, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado. If you've got Thanksgiving ski plans in the Rockies, this is what you want to see. Other than that, things are relatively quiet going into Tuesday. I mentioned how the southern branch, when it gets like that, it can be stormy across the deep south. That's how this is going to evolve. We go into Thursday. So this is the 21st of October, so we're 8 days out. Look at the rain across Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, into Mississippi. That's a wet pattern. A little bit of snow for Quebec. Big upper low sitting off the Pacific Northwest. And you can see that does send in a more unsettled weather for Vancouver. Vancouver is a place I would love to visit, not just visit. I think I'd like to live there for a year or so, just to experience your weather. I know if you've lived there all your life, it may get a little tiresome, like we get tired of the heat in Houston, but I just love the idea of the terrain and the bays and the ocean climate meets the mountains and the snow. It just sounds beautiful. Okay, so that's Thursday of next week. That's the 21st. But take a look at how this is going to evolve going into Friday, Saturday, the 23rd of October. So this is interesting. If this pattern does verify, what we end up with is this very amplified jet pattern, which reaches way up into northern Canada. Then look at this, plunges due south. So that is a pattern that might, again, this is a long-range forecast, the 23rd, so we're 10, 11 days out. But that's the type of pattern that would encourage a cold front, a surface front, to push south and bring in maybe the first shot of real chilly air into the middle part of the U.S. going into Saturday. And as we zoom out and just take a look at this from a little different perspective, look at how this jet becomes highly amplified, reaching all the way up above the Arctic Circle and then down west of Hudson Bay and then right down in the middle part of the country. Now, it's still a split jet regime, northern branch, southern branch, so this is not a bitter cold Arctic outbreak type pattern, but that's a colder pattern for the United States. We'll see if that plays out if you're a cold weather fan. What are temperatures like? So this is this evening, this is Wednesday. We talked about above the Arctic Circle. So alert's at 5 degrees. So there is some cold air up here right now. So at least at the moment, if we did get a jet pattern reaching up, it would have some cold air to grab before it headed south into the Great Lakes, the Midwest, and even eastern portions, central and eastern portions of Canada. So this little late fall, summer that you guys have been experiencing, Fargo, Pickle Lake, with your temperatures the past several days over the weekend in the 70s, that may be about the end of it. You guys are about to get cold if that jet pattern 10 days out does verify. Snowfall forecast, this is now through October the 20th, so this is a week out, is forecasting more snow for the Rockies. That's that secondary system. Plenty of snow across western, central, northern Canada into Alaska. And I talk about, this is something that I do track even down here in Houston, because if Houston's going to get a cold air outbreak, and I am a cold weather fan, what I want to see is snowpack up here across northwest Canada and Alaska in particular. And that is because if Houston's going to get a cold air outbreak, it almost always begins here, then comes right down, and it just comes right down the front range of the Rockies. So it can't go west. The Rockies sort of act like a dam. It's called cold air damming. and helps to funnel that cold air south. But the cold air's got to be up here in northwest Canada, Alaska to get that effect to go, so that's one of the things that I personally just watch for. But for overall conditions, if we get cold air up here, we do get that jet pattern, that surface cold air coming out of alert 10, 11 days out would have some surface snowpack to go over. That causes refrigeration. It helps to keep the cold air colder longer and makes it colder once it gets into the lower 48. That's where we stand tonight. Questions, comments? I read your comments. Thank you for leaving them. I'll try to get some cold air down into the Caribbean for you guys in the Caribbean who want a taste of fall. But you're in the Caribbean, so it does take a little longer to get it there. But I'll keep an eye out for that. Hit me up on social as well. We'll check you on Thursday for another update.